Hey there! Welcome back to another mini rant. This is a topic that's been stewing in my head for about a week now, and it's a culmination of how disappointing this summer has been recently in terms of the quality of films. Yes, there's been some that I haven't minded, and there are some I still haven't seen yet, like Suicide Squad and The Shallows and so on. But even ones that I enjoyed at first, I just then thought about it some more, and then I honestly realized that they're not really classics. They're not films that I would go run and see them in the theater again. And honestly, it seems to me that out to see a film in the movie theater is a lot more of a gamble than it once was. And I'll explain that why soon enough. First off, I know some people might say things like, well, it's always been a gamble. You don't know, you never know what you're going to get. And, well, to those people, I say this. Yes, if I hadn't seen some of the films in 1986, for instance, like Aliens, I know if I saw the trailer, and I know that I know if I was going to see it back then, and I was around back then to see it, and old enough to see it, then I would have already been a fan of Alien, so I would have already wanted to see it to begin with, and the trailer was legitimately good. James Cameron is directing it, and this is the James Cameron who isn't Jimmy Cammy. This is the legitimate James Cameron we're talking about here. My expectations would be pretty high, but at the same time, I would not expect to be disappointed. I wouldn't, and I wouldn't feel like it would be that much of a gamble. See, that's the thing. That's what I mean, gamble. It seems like going to see a movie nowadays in theaters is like betting on black or red 23 or whatever, or one of these numbers or whatever on a roulette wheel and crossing your fingers and saying multiple Hail Marys and hoping to God that it doesn't suck. I mean, or it's just okay. Which to me, that's not enough. I don't want a film to just be especially if I'm paying $7 to $10 for it. I know there's some people who say things, or even more than that. I'm going to pay for 3D and an IMAX. And I know there's people out there who say things like, well, matinees aren't that expensive. They're like $5. Not where I'm at. I can't pay $5 to see a matinee over here in Vancouver, Washington. I can't do that around my area, around my neighborhood. I can't fucking see a movie for that cheap. Cheapest matinee is $7, $8. Actually, it's a little bit more than that. So, yeah, it seems to me lately, especially this year, a lot of stuff just isn't worth the gamble. Yes, there's things I haven't seen yet, like Suicide Squad, but the stories I've heard that it's a complete mess of a film doesn't really bode well for me. I'll give it a chance someday, but I will wait till it comes out on home video. Also, I guess I'm just more patient because with the advent of the internet and with the advent of more and more options in terms of streaming and home video and rental places to rent things or buy things, it's not like I have to go to the movie theater in order to have a enjoyable film watching experience. That's another thing I think is kind of overrated. I think the theatrical experience is a little bit overrated because nowadays, if you got the right surround sound system, you got a nice HD flat screen, yes, it's not going to be as big, it's not going to be as HD, and the sound isn't going to be as big and booming, but but I would rather stay at home on my couch and watch a movie that I know that I like in surround sound in the comfort of my own home, not pay over ridiculously overpriced amounts of money for tickets and for concessions, and just enjoy myself. And I even take chances on movies that I think might suck, but hey, I'm not paying a premium for them. See, it's just, I don't think the theatrical experience, and I know, oh, well, it's the people. Sometimes the theatrical experience sucks because of the people, because of the audience members. Sometimes the people in the audience can ruin the movie. They're talking too much, they're being too loud, they're laughing in places where it's not really funny, so then it ruins the suspense or thrills, or it kind of ruins the experience of watching a horror film. Absolutely, definitely a horror film. If you got people laughing and trying to riff the whole film, and it's not really that type of movie. But yeah, sometimes the experience with an audience can be fun, but other times it isn't. For me personally, The only time I'm gonna pay a premium to see a film in the theater nowadays, this is just me, okay? The only time I'm going to do that is if it's a movie I've been waiting to see for years, like for decades, like Deadpool or Captain America: The First Avenger. Like those were like first day seeing. Saw those opening weekend type movies, and I paid full price to see those because I wanted to support them. But those are films that I had been waiting to see for a long time. I really don't see the justification to me for even spending matinee prices on Independence Day Resurgence. I really don't. It's just that's just me personally. Or the Ouija prequel, or Don't Breathe, or whatever. So, and also another exception I do make in terms of theatrical experience, and I don't think that the experience of seeing a film in the theater, a newer film in the theater nowadays, I think is a little bit overrated. But the experience of seeing a film that you love with a crowd full of people who also love the movie and people who haven't seen the film and seeing it in 35 millimeter, the way it was intended to be seen in the first place, and seeing it with one of the special effects artists, like literally in the same row as you, now that experience is timeless. That experience I will gladly pay any amount of money for. And I've had that experience, not once, but 3 times, which has been really nice. So I saw the Monster Squad in the theater in 35 millimeter with Fred Decker in attendance. He did a Q&A at the end. I got his autograph. I shook his hand. I met the man. It was awesome. I saw Aliens in a packed theater of fans. It wasn't in 35 millimeter, but it was still a great experience because it was in the theater. It's a film I love, and I saw it with people that also love the movie. And then I also, most recently, I saw The Fly, David Cronenberg's The Fly, in 35 millimeter with Chris Walas, the man who created Brundlefly himself, sitting in the same row as me. So that type of experience is well worth it. That's not overrated, and that's something that I really want every fan to experience. I want every fan of whether it's those films or fan of any fan of film, like the people who have their like favorite films. I would absolutely love every single one of them to have the experience that I had in the theater, seeing the films that you love in the way that they were intended to be seen, or just with people that also love them, and with extra bonuses too, with cast and crew members being there watching it with you. That's an experience that I would not trade for anything. Seeing Batman versus Superman in the theater, yeah, I gladly trade that. I would. It's seeing Star Trek Beyond and being completely underwhelmed by it in the theater, gladly trade that experience. But the thing is, when I saw those films, I saw them with my stepdad, so it was at least worth it to spend time with him. So that's the thing. Nowadays, and I wasn't paying for it, so there's that too. But nowadays, I kind of just, I don't know, there's really not a lot of movies I want to go run out and see, especially not this year. I mean, what do I have next for the rest of this year that's like a must see for me? Doctor Strange is I'm up in the air. Kind of like the trailer, but I don't know. Um, Jack Reacher Never Go Back. I love the first film, but I don't know if I want to see the sequel in the theater. And also, I have so many movies that I want to watch that I can watch at home. And I didn't pay that much for them, and I could just watch them and catch up on that and have a similar experience. And also, a good movie is a good movie, folks. Case in point, Lock Up with Stallone. The first time I saw it was on a shitty VHS tape that had horrible tracking issues. You know what? I still watched the whole thing all the way through, even though the tracking issues were so bad you could barely see what was going on the screen. But the story was captivating enough and the characters were good enough that I really cared enough to keep going through the story. And that's a great film. A great film is a great movie, no matter what definition you see it in. And a bad movie is a bad movie, no matter what definition you see it in. I saw RoboCop in IMAX. It was still a piece of shit. It was still a robotic dildo shoved up my ass. Okay? So this whole theatrical experience it definitely is overrated when it comes to the quality of the film. Also, sometimes when you see a movie in the theater, it kind of like Spider-Man 3, for instance, I liked when I saw it in the theater, but it was a completely different experience on home video. Sometimes the theatrical experience can kind of elevate a film higher than it really is. And other times, theatrical experience can be so bad that it ends up hurting a film. Um, and sometimes just watching it with some people that don't really aren't into the movie can also make you not into the movie. I've noticed that. I mean, 22 Jump Street. I saw it with my parents. They didn't seem like they were that big fans of it, and so I wasn't. And then I saw it again by myself, and I loved it. So sometimes, you know, the people around you can affect how you view a film as well. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. I think that's too much of a gamble lately.